How long do you think 25K will last in Kenya? Does this include your housing expense? Are you going to the club? Are you paying for women? And what are you taking women out on dates is what I mean. What are you doing? What's happening? Like you got to describe your lifestyle because 25K in Kenya, depending on how you live, probably lasts you years if you wanted it to. Don't drink. Only one girl. Depends. Ladies like to try to spend your money, but if you get a one bedroom in Kilimani, Kilileshwa, Lavington, you're probably unfurnished. See, this is the thing. If you're planning to stay a long period of time or what, because if you go unfurnished, you'll probably pay $500-$600 a month USD for a nice one bedroom. In Westlands, probably 700 to 1,000, and then you'd have to furnish it. So you probably spend, if you got to get a refrigerator, do you want a dryer? Do you just want a washing machine? Do you want nice stuff? You're going to spend $1 million Kenyan shillings, maybe 800,000. So you probably spend like $7,000 on furniture. And then I was saying, if you want to ball out, you spend $3K a month. That includes your housing. But if you're not partying, I mean, you really want to spend that much money. 25K lasts probably close 8 months, a year. Most of it's going to go to, well, let's do some math here. Let's say you're spending $750 a month on your housing. That's $9,000 right there. But then you got to furnish it. Let's say $7,000. That's $16,000. So you got $9,000 of spending. You probably spend $1,000 a month after your housing. 9 months, 8 months, yeah. Chris, did you ask me a question and then bail out on me? I put a lot of thorough analysis into that. Oh, shoot. All right, well, back to what I'm doing. Let me know if you're still there. Oh, you are there. Yeah. When are you going? Have you been, Chris? Have you been to Kenya? What are you looking to do out there? Yeah, the thing about Kenya and the affordability is that Kenya can be whatever you want it to be, right? Like if you're eating local food and grocery shopping, your money's going to go really far. If you're staying in Westlands, it's going to go less far because you're paying an extra premium there. That's like staying in New York City or any like downtown area that's expensive. Chris said, no, I haven't, but I'm thinking of going soon. I just would feel more comfortable getting a remote job. Oh, dude. Okay. People, y'all don't got no business trying to move to Africa if you don't have a source of income. I see so many dusties, some pookies and ray rays be out there because they think it's cheap. And then they live in a big lifestyle thinking they just going to figure it out. You are not going to figure it out, especially if you don't like. Even me, like I have the real estate skill set, but I wouldn't like rely on making income out there. Plus, you're not legal. to make money in the local economy. Obviously, remote work's different. So yeah, I mean, you definitely need a remote job. But say you had a remote job and you were making $3,000 a month. I mean, you're gonna live a good life like that. $4,000, even better. $5,000, I mean, forget it. Like you're just balling. So that's kind of my perspective on it. But you know, like if people are trying to live more modestly, you definitely can live modestly in Kenya for way less money. But I would definitely say visit before you pull the trigger, before you start planning your life out there. I mean, I'm crazy, so when I went out there, I was pretty sure I was going to like it, and then I fell in love with the place. And then, you know, and I'm not really that dramatic, but I'm just chill. Like I'm laid back. I'm not like, oh my God, I don't get into trends. I don't do all that stuff. When I was out there, I was really feeling it. And then my second time is actually when, and I had started the first properties purchase on my first trip. And then my second time, I started getting anxiety. Like, will I still love being out there? Will I still get the same feeling? Is it just nostalgia or just being different that made me want to be out there? But what I realized, I started feeling really guilty that I loved being out there so much and I really didn't ever want to leave. And that's when I knew it's time to make some plans, because this US stuff ain't it. And now it's ruined my brain because I'm running a whole business here. And running a business is challenging, and especially scaling and involving more people and trying to grow a business with, bringing more people in. People are people in, and every time you get frustrated or annoyed, it's like, I don't need this. Going to Kenya. But that's a bad mindset. This guy said, how much are those HIV kits out there? I'll get them every time I meet a girl. I have no idea. Yeah, that's a wild question. I will say, healthcare out there is easier in a way because you just go to the doctor and you don't need a prescription and all this insurance stuff. I do know that they do have insurance, but it's way cheaper than the US. So you could probably just buy it. But that's a wild question, dog. Your mind is in a gutter right now. He's planning on raw dogging. I don't blame you. I understand. But goodness gracious. He said, I need an HIV test kit. So I know that's like a thing in our mind about that. Is that true? Like, is HIV like real big in Kenya? You got to separate Nairobi, or like the developed areas, for the like the villages and less developed areas, because those are way different things. And the stats are going to be way different. You shouldn't even like look at the stats from Nairobi to the rest of Kenya, because they're way different. Cost of, like, if you go to Mombasa, I just saw apartments in Mombasa for 2.5 million, which is like 16, 17, 18,000 USD. That's crazy. So, yeah. Oh, this is kind of fun. If people are going to come in here, we'll just be chatting it up. And, because I haven't made any Kenyan content because I'm in the US. Chris said, damn, so I'll outright own it. That's the whole thing. Me personally, I'm trying to get away from debt. Debt hangs over your head. Even if you have good money, debt, as a real estate person, I built my whole life based off of debt. But at this point, trying to
Unknown caller.
get an unknown caller. I'm trying to reduce debt. But yeah, you own it outright, and then property tax. There's no property tax per se in most areas. If you buy an apartment, you are usually it's a leasehold, so in a way there is property tax because you're going to have to pay for the renewal, but they don't have to give you a renewal. But you get a 99-year leasehold depending on the property that you buy. So yeah, it's pretty cheap. Could I just rent it out on Airbnb when I'm not there? How does that work? Yeah, you can. I don't have the data. Even in the US, this is why I've been reluctant to mess with Airbnb, is that I don't know how frequently your stuff would get rented. So that's where I don't know. But yeah, I mean you own it outright, right? So if it's vacant and it's not renting out that good on Airbnb, I mean you're not getting income, but you are. I would recommend go on Airbnb and look around. You'll see what's out there. You'll see the type of properties. But yeah, you could do it. Mombasa, Diani, Watamu are all on the coast, and there's opportunities there. But obviously, that's more seasonal, touristy stuff versus Nairobi Airbnb market. But again, I can't. I don't know. I can't speak to the like the vacancy rate. And that's something that you're going to want to know when you're doing Airbnb. But yeah, you can rent it out when you're not there. My idea, I was going to like lock one of the closets or something, leave my personal stuff there, and then travel back and forth. But now I'm just buying another property that I'm just going to keep to myself. And then I have one in Lavington that I'm renting out right now. I don't know where you saw the videos and stuff, but I rented that out on a year lease, unfurnished, but actually the guy ended up moving out. You can break your lease in Kenya pretty easily. So my property manager, I'm hoping we get another tenant, but all these developments just finished. So it's actually a little challenging. Oh, you saw me with Rello. That's crazy. That was fun. I didn't know what I was walking into on that. But yeah, man. 25K, you'd be good. Scott Ensley, yeah. Someone said he's famous. And I'm just me. I don't know. Well, is he? He's like a big passport bro. Well, like what's he famous from? He was super entertaining. I realized when I was on that live, I was like, yo, this is why my content don't do that good, because I'm boring. I'm chilling. Like, to be honest with myself. I'm just regular. I don't. That's why with the Kenyan content, I really keep it to real estate because that's my specialty. That's where I add value. But I've been looking at all kinds of business opportunity. Like whatever you can do in the US, you can do bigger overseas. And in my point, Kenya is like your money goes longer, labor's less expensive. Like you can really build something significant out there with less money. But you got to learn how things work before you even try to get into anything complicated. He's famous for missing his flight and getting stuck for $100. He's a good dude, though. It's just irresponsible. No, that was super cool. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. He got mad people on there. Yo, getting 150 people on your live is crazy. Like, that's very impressive. So, definitely pretty cool. That's funny though. He was like, I don't pay for play, but I don't know if he was telling the truth. I was like, you give him like you do, which is fine. I don't care. But I have this weird thing where like I'm I'm in this professional world, but sometimes I want to give my opinion, but I don't want to cause too much trouble. I don't want no problems. Getting old, that's what happens. Rental owners. Damon. Here he is. So I'm literally like doing office work in here. I was just testing this out, but I was thinking about doing a live. But what the heck? I don't know what the heck I want to talk about. Like, the Kenyan stuff is cool, but it's pretty niche. And I don't want to drag it, especially if I'm not in Kenya. I'd be not in Kenya mode when I'm in the US. I'm in real estate mode. And then when I'm out there, then I'll be back in Kenya mode. But I'm going out there like next month, the next month or two. So, and I made some money off of YouTube from the Kenyan content. I only have like 5 or 6 videos. So I do want to keep that up. Not really for the money making, but it feels like it's having impact. But yeah, I don't know what I want to do, but I got to commit to whatever. Oh, wow. These messages. So I'm literally doing paperwork right now. But wow, maybe I should come up with a plan, do like a 2-hour live every other day or something. Maybe every day. I don't know. I'll just come in here and keep it light. I don't know if I could be entertaining enough for that long. You know? Plus, my YouTube channel is way different than some of my other stuff that I do. And my YouTube channel, I was going to make one specifically for Kenya. I actually posted the first video on both my channels. And when I posted on the new channel, it got no views and it got a whole bunch of views on my channel. So that told me stick with the channel I got, because building a new channel is hard. I'm getting blown up. Name, address, email. Okay. Do you think Rello is going to have problems being dark skinned? Yes. Problems? I don't think he'll have the same experience I would have. And again, I'm telling you, I'm not trying to like brag. Like I'm not coming like that. It just, the way I get treated is ridiculous. And it messes with your brain, because then you come here and you're like, yo, what? Like, how do you go from like a 6 to a 10? It's that crazy. But yeah, I think he might have some trouble because he's going to blend in. Although he was wearing, what was he wearing? A Chanel or a Gucci shirt? I don't know how that's going to play. They might think he's rich. Does he have a chain? Maybe that'll work. I mean, he seemed like a fun guy. So in the club, he'll probably, he'll have a good time in the section. I'm not, I'm laid back. I ain't doing all that. I like a lounge. That's why I like Oyster Bay. The location. I like to sit, chill. He said, I'm white though, so I don't really know how my experience is. No, they love the whites. No, they'll love you too much. But they looking for the whites. They're definitely you will have oh man, they will be going crazy. I'm trying to find this guy's address. Oh my goodness. But yeah, any white people going pretty much in most places in Africa are going to have a preferential treatment, unfortunately. And I feel bad about it because I'm light skinned and I feel it. One time when I was in Mombasa, I was at Safaricom, and I'm not exactly sure this happened, but I peeped that I think they took me ahead of the line because they give people numbers, but they were like, and there was other people waiting, and they took me in front of other people. I don't know if they were waiting for something different, but it felt like they was giving me extra treatment. So I don't know, but that was my perception. What makes you want to go to Kenya? See, everyone's trying to go. I see Earn Your Leisures out there. I see a lot of people. East Africa is getting on the radar. Actually, a big music artist, Bien, who's Kenyan, was at the Breakfast Club yesterday, or at least the video came out. Yeah, I don't really like that, to be honest. That bleaching stuff, I don't really get it. I've heard stories of guys waking up and the girl being 3 shades darker. Yeah, man. I don't know. There is some white worship going on that, yeah, it does bother me, but it's a different culture. Like they have their reasons, I guess. But yeah, I don't like it. I don't like that they have a preference for light skin because it plays into. I don't want to say self hate. I don't really mean self hate, but that would be along those lines where it's like, why don't you see yourself as beautiful or attractive? Because there's, you know, but it is what it is. Man, I ain't putting an address there. Managing agent. Hmm. Oh no! What the heck happened? Um, yeah, why do you want to go to Kenya? That's what I want to know. Six oh nine. Um, my biggest issue right now is the passive income working online. I have a great job, but it's US based and not online. Yeah, that's my problem. I'm running a business here in New Jersey and I'm spending money in the business, right? Like I'm have reinvesting in the business, grinding, dealing with problems. And it's like I could just retire to Kenya right now because I have rental properties. I have some VA income, and see you later, guys. It's in the back of my head, and you can live real good. Like I'm saying, if you got 3 to 5 grand a month, I mean, you just do whatever you want all the time. You could eat out on pretty much every day like that. Like you could go the nicest restaurants, VIP, like the back room at Alloy, the cigar lounge, like all kinds of spots get like it's like going to a super well, a high end or a very high end restaurant, but you're still paying like if you're not drinking, 25 USD a person for like, you spend that at Fridays. This is more like Eddie V's or like a way better, some rooftop experience or whatever, for that type of money. So yeah, the passive income has a thing. 200, 1145. Yeah, I guess this is pretty cool in the lives though. Yo, I do wonder that though, like all these live streamers, what if you did it for like whatever your business is? Maybe arranged. How's the internet? Yeah, it's good. The thing is, there's different speed levels. So if you're at an Airbnb, they're probably paying for like the basic, but I haven't had a problem with the basic internet speed. But like if you like when I bought my first property, they do have like super fast connections that you could pay for that are reasonable. They're reasonably priced. The power can go out, so this is another important thing is to get a place that has a backup generator that actually backs up like the particular unit and the outlets. Some of these properties, the backup will only do the common areas, or they might just do your lights, but not your outlets. And now your internet's out, and that's whack. Also, if it rains, Westlands don't have this problem as much, but if you're staying in Kilimani or Lavington or Kilileshwa, the traffic and the roads and the flooding can be kind of crazy where you can't get nowhere. Those are some considerations. Oddly enough, interestingly, like certain things are expensive, like skincare products can be expensive, especially like brands that you know, they can cost a little bit. But a lot of other things are affordable. The gym membership, like if you don't have a gym in your apartment, the gym is like $50 a month, and it's not as good as US gyms. I don't think a lot of people talk about that. So that's another one to think about. I smoke cigars. They have good ones out there. I smoke cigars only time to time. I know Austin Hallman smokes cigars, and he goes to some cigar lounge out there. So I'm going to assume they have cigar lounges where you can buy, I guess, decent cigars. I don't know. It's pretty cool when you travel like that, though, because like I don't know about the cigars, but you get exposed to different products. So um, I didn't know South Africa made wine like that, but they got a lot of good South African wines out there that I liked. But just in general, you get access to all kinds of different stuff, even like appliances. You see different brands, you see different all the cars have different names, although some of them are basically the same model as the US. They just have different names. Yeah. Uber's super cheap. So also they have something called Bolt, which is just an Uber knockoff. It's cheaper, but I always use Uber. But you can do like a 20, 30-minute drive sometimes. It'd be like $3 to $5. That's how, so you could do a lot and not spend a lot. If you could take one thing from America and bring it to Kenya, what would it be? It's funny because people ask me from Kenya, when you're coming, bring me something that I can't get here. And I always tell them, y'all got pretty much everything. Are you talking about like a, like a thing, like a phone or a camera or something? Or are you talking about like, I don't know, something that you could get access to? See, I'm in a unique situation. I'm not like a tourist. I'm looking to integrate a little bit. So I'm trying to adopt some of the cultural ways there where it's more laid back, more chill, more peaceful, more positive versus consumerism and all the stuff that's going on here. I'm trying to break away from some of that. So I notice like things work slower because M-Pesa like is a payment processing. It's kind of like Cash App, but it's through the phone, and like you pay for that everywhere, and it takes probably 30 to 45 seconds longer than using a card, and it bothers me, and I'm trying to like not be bothered by that because like why are you rushing? Why are we rushing? Relax. Relax. Um One thing that I do when I come back to the US that I do appreciate is like I could be driving and pull up to a convenience store. We have Wawa over here in Jersey and like grab a couple things and get out real fast. Kenya, you're not just going to make a pit stop. It's going to take long. How you going to park? There's a gate. They might have security at the thing. Then using M-Pesa, it takes a little bit of time. So like, but here's the thing: Uber Eats, or you could get a Boda driver. There's something called Glovo. You can get anything brought to you for really cheap. It's not like Uber Eats where like you buy McDonald's on Uber Eats for $10, all of a sudden it's $20. It's not like that. It's very affordable. You can get alcohol, you can get whatever you want. Um, yeah, they got spicy food. Hold on, you said I smoked. Oh, hold on. I see. I got you. I heard they don't really have spicy food. What? That's crazy. They definitely have spicy food. Um, dang, what's the name? There's actually a West African uh place that I order from that has like the real spicy stuff. But if you eat, it's funny in Kenya, I almost never eat like Kenyan Swahili food because most of the stuff is international that I end up going to. So it's like any other restaurant that you would go to, different themes, Mexican spot, Italian, French, whatever. Um, but you can get spicy food for sure. I can't think of the name of the West African spot with the food because that joint was real spicy, but it was real good. Do I drive? I have driven. Driving is chaotic. I'm starting to understand a little bit. It's a rhythm. If you watch how they drive, you'll be like, there's no way like people don't crash, but they know what they're doing. It's weird. But also they're the most reckless people driving. Like I don't know why. Like once you get out of the city, they drive fast, they overtake it. Like there's a lot of road accidents. Like you can definitely lose your life. I don't know why the culture around driving is like YOLO, but they really don't care. Like they're driving. I feel like they don't care about their lives driving. Like that is dangerous. Yeah, yeah, and it's on the other side of the road. Actually, when I go out there, I don't know, it depends on my budget, but I was gonna buy a Ford Raptor out there on this trip or probably in my next trip, probably in December or whatever, January. Definitely getting a car. But I drove at night. It wasn't a lot of cars, and the girl I was with, she drives. She has a Mercedes, but um yeah, we was drinking, so I was like, I'll drive. And there's a lot of traffic circles. That's where it gets a little confusing because you're like, wait, which way do I go? But I'm telling you, I first of all, I spend long periods of time there. Secondly, I'm on a mission to learn how to be in Kenya, not just visiting. Like I'm trying to make people feel like I'm a local. So I'm trying to learn everything. So I pay a lot of attention. But yeah, it's cool. It is cool. Property management. Clientele. print something. Brother printer. He said, I want to meet a Kenyan woman with a good career. Is that polo? Yeah. So when I was at the polo event, we had a section, and these two ladies came over, and because there were no more sections, and I'm like, can we sit with y'all? And we had like 8 seats, like it was like 10 seats. We had 1,000,000 seats, and we're talking, and they're both attorneys. So now I'm asking them legal questions. I was getting free legal advice. I'm asking them everything. And now I got their numbers, and I can ask them stuff. Or, if I need an attorney or a referral to the type of attorney I need. That's the thing. People are very educated in Kenya, at least in the places that I'm at. Most people have university degrees. So I'm like really impressed. And the other thing is, because of the internet, and Kenyans are like really online, so the cultural connections, like slang, they know what's going on. So that's what Rello was talking about. He can't connect. He must have been talking, and there's nothing wrong with people from the village, but he must have been talking to people that are like slower, like basically from the country, that aren't on time like that. They're not, it's a different culture out there, but in the city, nah, they're on it. Let me get this. Oh shoot. Oh, I gotta put this in. Yeah. Yeah, so Gong Race Course, they have polo, but they also have like horse races. There's a tent, there's all these vendors. You get a VIP section, you get a table, there's a waitress. It's real nice. People are dressed up, I met a lot of people out there. It's really cool. That's the other thing in Kenya. Like that's the thing with the US, not to knock the US, but you could just, because I felt like this in Germany too. Like you could just talk to people. Like if you were at a bar, everyone's going to talk to everybody. Way more social, way more friendly. Nobody's like worried about whatever the heck, because everybody's worried about something popping off. Out there, you just talk to everybody, and it's just a good vibe all the time. I mean, that's my experience. So I don't know, that I just approach everything in a real open mind. And I think they pick up on the fact that I'm interested in the culture and people. All I did, like, that's a cool thing. I could talk to somebody from Kenya all day because there's a million things I can ask them. I just ask them all about the country, their opinions about different things. So like there's unlimited things to talk about and vibe. Said, yeah, I want to network, man. I don't even want to buy a house in America to tie me down. My mind is focused on international real estate. Uh, you know, I mean, I made my career on the US, and, I'm super privileged to have rental properties here and everything. But when I look at the landscape of real estate, the cost, lifestyle, and everything, man, I think overseas is interesting, especially my experience when I was purchasing. It sounds crazy to go to another country and buy land, real estate, anything. It really wasn't the process wasn't that crazy. It was very, I've been in real estate for over 15 years in the US. So like to me, it seemed normal. Like wasn't, it wasn't that crazy. I know a lot of people looking at like Jamaica, although Jamaica's having like a boom right now too. Your money just goes further, like, because now in the US, you need to even get in the game, you need enough money. So a lot of people are locked out of the game. So where can you go? Yeah, you could buy stuff in the hood, but then you got to deal with hood problems with your real estate. And I'm not trying to do that. I've been there. But people make money, like people make money doing real estate in not so nice neighborhoods. I mean, that's cool, but it's not for me. I'm in New York City. Yeah, yeah. I'm in New York City, man. I can't take these prices working to live. Yeah, man. Like, that's crazy. So think about this. I associate Nairobi like New York City maybe 30, 40 years ago as far as real estate. Imagine you could buy some in New York, you know, 30 years ago, and now it's today. What is it worth? I think Nairobi looks like that on real estate, as long as their politics, they don't crash out, because there was protests against this crazy tax bill. Which, look, I follow the politics. Like, I read the finance bill of 2024. They were taxing everything, and there was protest, and the police slash army shot some people. And there's actually a BBC documentary about it, and um, there's been a lot of talk about it because the president's not super popular right now. So there are like political issues. So you do have to, and I think a politician got killed actually on a road that I was on a lot. So you do have to pay attention. What about Trump? Can't stand him over there. No, 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 no. This is the biggest lie that they be telling. Trump is popular internationally because the rest of the world isn't with some of the weird stuff. Like, they like a guy that stands on business and talks like that. Now the tariff thing, I don't know, but no, the aid and the tariffs, I think it's a weird time. Like, I see a lot of African content creators talking about we need to control our own destiny. If you look at what's happened in Burkina Faso with Ibrahim Traore, I think people are waking up to the fact of kind of uh, not relying on aid, not relying on the Western countries, Europe, US. So I think that is changing. So, but no, they like Trump. They'd be like, "What he?" If I ask somebody about Trump over there, they'd be like, you know, they don't mind what he be saying a lot of times. I think the media be hyping up the other stuff. Plus, Trump. Oh Lord, don't get me into the politics. But no, they don't hate Trump. Did I do everything I need to do here? Hmm. Let's see. Yeah, this is pretty cool. Maybe I'll do some lives. I don't know, but I don't want to mess up. So if I start putting lives on the YouTube, and then I'm not talking about Kenyan content, I feel like my channel's going to get confused on the algorithm. But I also don't want to make a new channel, so I don't know. Because you're trying to get me in trouble because they don't got freedom of speech like that. I ain't trying to make the government upset with me. Stephen Williams, you gonna let me join your soccer team or what? Are you back in Jersey? Where are you at? What you been up to? What's going on? Yo, Kai Cenat is the man, yo. Streamer University, like the whole concept. Like probably people our age, we're not following it, but that's crazy what he's got going on. Oh, you're in Cali. Are you still good? I'm not. Man, I was good last season. I gained like a lot of weight. I've been struggling. We only got one game left in our season though. But yeah, like this is YouTube is tough because you don't want to mess up your algorithm on your channel, but then making new channels is like, because this channel's monetized. But you mess around, make a new channel, then you got to grind it out again. And I was just starting to get some juice on this one, but now it's all real estate. But I have some videos on there that do well, just general US real estate, but then I got all this Kenyan content. It's like all mixed up. I don't know how to put the two and two together. Your knees hurting? It's funny. I got tendonitis in my Achilles. I got tendonitis in my hamstring. I'm worried one of them things is gonna go, but it's because I gotta lose weight, man. Weight is like a negative factor for everything. And all I had today, it's 4 p.m., 3:47 p.m. right now. All I had so far was a protein bar. But like I feel hungry now, like I'm ready to go eat something. But when you're in an office setting, it's like you get bored and want to eat. It's no good. I need more outside activities or something. I need to go build a garden or something. Yeah, there's really like 5 people on this live right now. That's funny. So what do you guys think I should do if I did a live every day? I just do a variety show, react to some videos. Maybe someone asks about Kenya, talk about some real estate topics, business. I'm trying to stay away from the dating stuff to some degree. I could talk about a little bit. Chris, that's why Rello, I was scared because I was looking at his content. I was like, bro, I ain't trying to be out here just passport broing it up. But it was cool. We didn't go that far. Yeah, man, the knees. We're all dying. We're all dying. I've been having like a midlife crisis about that. Because I still play soccer with the 20-year-olds, and I'm like, dang, even if I was in shape, I don't know if I had the juice like they got, which means you're dying. Right? You even if you tried more, you could do less. Like you're bound by your physical degradation. Struggling with that, which goes to retiring in Kenya because it's like, what's all living to work? And work is good. Like I like working. I like building this business that I'm building. But when them annoying things happen, it's like, I don't need this shit. But then, I would think I'd be bored. So it's like a double-edged sword. Y'all don't be having midlife crises. Like, damn, my back hurt. Because we're all dying. Is that morbid? I've been having more, and a lot of people see. Then you get older, and your peers start having older people issues. People start dying, kids getting sick, car accidents. The mortality of people just starts getting to you. You know, people's parents passing away, and then you start thinking, you know, like my my dogs are old. They don't move the same. I don't know. I don't know what you do about that. What do you do with that information? Like, it's weird watching sports because when I was real big into sports, those guys were older than me or the same age, and now I'm older than everybody. Like, it's like I'd be retiring now if I was a player. It's weird to me. And then you see young people doing stuff that's clearly young and dumb, and you're like, young and dumb. I've been there. It's weird. It's getting old. Getting old. And everyone, no, there were no cookouts because our generation, well, first, they can't afford stuff. But secondly, we don't socialize and organize like they did back in the day. And I try to do that, but I ain't had the juice lately. I have not had the juice. Because Chris said, I don't even like watching sports anymore. I feel like I'm wasting my time, could be investing or something. Yeah, I know. It's weird. Andrew Tate talks about like concerts where there's all these people like gathering to watch someone do something. I feel like that too. Like, make your own legacy or whatever. Like, why am I watching people perform at the highest level and I'm just sitting watching them? It's weird. I get it. I get it. I don't know. Like, see, the older you get, the more aware of things you become because it's like working, investing, building, super important. Super, super important. But why, is life about work? You definitely need resources, but you know, it's a balance. That's the hard thing. That, you know what? That's where social media got everybody messed up because social media is like the most extreme version of every single thing, and it's like hustle, 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 hustle. Well, you got to know when to hustle and then when to not hustle and when to take a break and slow down. But you also got, and I'm not saying you always got to, and every individual is different. So it's like, you know, picking when to do something and then to measure, because anybody can go all out on something. Like, it's easy to take a really extreme position. It's really easy to go 100%. It's really easy to be like, this is bad, this is good, but nothing actually is like that. Like, everything is infinitely complicated. So then how do you decide? So it's, how you got to balance enjoying your life with investing for the future. Do you know when there's people who work a warehouse job for a year, save up a bunch of money, quit, go live abroad, and do it all over again until the money run out? What's your opinion on that? No. Nope. Can't do it. Maybe. People do spend way more money than they should be spending on things. That's for sure. At the same time, I don't know. No, you could do it if you did it over a long enough period of time, especially investing. Like if you were investing like $50 to $100 a month in Bitcoin, since it popped up on the radar, I'm not saying like back in the day when it was like unknown, but everyone knows about it now, right? So since probably 2020, if you you probably run a simulation on it. If you invested $50 a month in Bitcoin, from 2020 to 2025, what would it be worth today? Now you might be talking. So the general concept that I'm saying is like if you invest it, maybe, even though you have a revenue problem if you're at a warehouse. Now the advantage when you go overseas is there may be opportunities to make money in a couple different ways overseas, but I want to rely on it. Definitely want to rely on it. Plus, I think you got to build a skill set. Like that's the thing, I talk to people about, especially even on content, is that I have over 15 years of real estate experience. So there's no competition for that. Like you can't copy that part. So I think you got to develop a skill set because that differentiates you regardless of what it is. Like I see like attorneys online doing content, they're doing really well because that's not a space that's a lot of people are in, and plus most people can't get into it. Whatever it is, like even like lawn care, like there's lawn care experts, and I look up things about my pool. There's pool experts. Like you gotta get a skill set, because if you have a skill set, you can probably figure it out. And the warehouse ain't really helping with that. You gotta. I hate to say it, but some kind, not just a side hustle, but like a skill, a discipline. Sounds boring, the 10,000 hours and all that stuff, but if you can, if you know construction, if you know um, graphic design, like you got to have some kind of skill, and you need a track record of success with the skill. I think that's a critical thing. I think a lot of people are chasing a trend or a way to make money, and I don't think it's sustainable. But the thing is, with social media, you're seeing a snapshot of, you're seeing them have success right in this moment. That happens in real estate. Like I see people that they flipped a house or they bought a bunch of rental properties, but what you don't know is how much money they owe on the properties and how much they're actually making, and when they have repairs and the costs. Because what I've realized over time is there's a lot of depreciation, like a lot of cost on maintaining a property that manifests in chunks over time. So you could look like you're making money for a while. And actually, that's why real estate people can go broke, because they have so much debt. And any problem you have could, even though you have wealth on paper, it could blow you up and sink your whole ship. So you got to be careful. But you need a skill. Trading stocks is not a skill. Hold on. Trading stocks is what everyone says to do. I would no. Don't trade. Invest. Big difference. Big difference. Honestly, stocks, like you could be very boring. And this is not financial advice, but buy Amazon stock. Buy the companies that are taking over the world. that's very obvious to own. When you're trying to go in and out and time your trades and all that stuff, I think it's a scam. That's the thing. The internet turns even like tried and true things into scams because the way that they want to tell you how to do it. Because yes, theoretically, if you bought and sold every day at the right time, you'd make a bunch of money, but that's not how it works. It doesn't work. That's why you got these people doing parlays, and then you only see when their parlay hits, but you didn't see that they lost thousands of dollars this year gambling. Stop gambling. Amazon, buy a bank stock that's a big bank, buy a consumer goods thing, like General Mills or something that pays a dividend. Tesla is a little controversial, but I like Tesla. But not for nothing, buy an index fund, buy a mutual fund that just is like a general market, and just discipline, invest every month, whatever you can afford, $50. I started when I was 18. That's the thing. I never made a lot of money. I probably made the most money at the last job that I had, probably not more than 100 grand, and I only did it once because then the market got bad. It was my management of the money, saving and not spending, which is now hard for me because I'm trying to learn to enjoy money more, but not crash out. So that gets a little more challenging. Chris said, what about crypto? I would allocate a certain percentage that I feel comfortable in crypto. So I'd probably have more in stocks. Say 60% of my invested money is in stocks and then 40% in crypto, or 70-30 or whatever. And again, don't chase this other crap. Just buy Bitcoin, maybe Ethereum. So then this is the thing. You should just set rules for yourself, right? Like, I'm going to buy 80% of whatever I allocate to my crypto in Bitcoin, and then I'm going to allocate 20% of my cryptocurrency investment in Ethereum. And I'm going to set up an automatic purchase, and I'm just going to let that rock out. That's it. Boring. Like, if it's complicated, it's probably some BS, to be honest. It don't got to be that crazy. It really doesn't. Like, invest. That's the crazy thing. Like, investing. But this is the thing. I did it since I was 18. But now when I look at my stuff, I'm like, damn, that's crazy. Because I know you've probably seen it. The power of compound interest is real. But you got to wait. But where you mess it up is you try to trade and then you take a loss. Because if you take a loss of a couple $100, that's $10,000 5, 8 years from now. So it's better to just stay safe and be boring. Now, when you have extra money, right? You do have a tax return, you got, I don't know, you somehow you end up coming in having some extra money. Okay. You want to do something more mentally stimulating where there's a higher upside but more risk, use that money. But make a barrier in between your play money and your serious investment money. That's how I always been thinking about it. So in real estate, we get a large commission all at once. I might send 10% to the play money stuff right off the bat. But I think if you create rules for yourself, but based off of percentages of how you want to allocate your money, and it might be your allocations might feel like not a lot, like 20, 30, 40, $50. It starts to matter over time. It really does. I'm sure you've seen people say it, but it really does matter. But you still, the warehouse thing, especially living in New York, like, I get it. A lot of your money is getting eaten up. And I guess it's hard to say, but you might want to get the heck out of there. Because I was looking at moving to Florida or something, because Jersey's expensive too, which is why I'm looking overseas. But you need so for me, I have passive income from real estate that can sustain whatever I do. So it's a safe base to have. And if you don't have a base and you're just relying on your income, then you got to be careful. You can't, if I don't know how you would just get overseas and then figure it out, and you're trying to probably do it too early. You said you're like 26. You got 6, 7 more years, man, to like by your early to mid 30s. That's when you should be like ready. Sounds like a long time, but these years be moving. Somebody told me this at my last job I ever worked, and I didn't believe him. But he said, your 30s is when everything changes if you do it right. He said that's the most fun you had. This is 30s, and I felt like 30s is old, and I'm 37. I feel a little old now. I'm on the further end, but because I invest again, I didn't make a lot of money, but because I invested, I have a base of wealth and income to rely on it to give me freedom to do what I want to do generally. But here's something that I think about is like, I feel like I got 1 or 2 more levels to hit in me, but I'm tired. Right? Like I could keep investing. And when I say investing, I'm more talking about like businesses more, because I'm always going to invest in stocks, crypto, all that stuff. But investing in like a business costs money. You got to spend money. Like I'm in my real estate office right now. Like all the stuff in here recently was purchased. So to level up, you got to spend more, and I could just bail out and go to Kenya, but then it'll be hard to raise the level. Chris said, do you have a problem with squatters in America? I worry about that. Dude, I would never buy in New York for that reason. I don't like buying in Jersey anymore. I won't, unless I'm doing like a new construction that we're going to sell or something. I'm not doing anything in any blue states that have stupid landlord tenant laws, squatters' rights, all that stuff. That's again why I'm looking at Kenya, because they don't have all that nonsense. You didn't pay, you got to go. What the heck are we talking about? Yeah. And the I probably could have went broke during COVID, because if we had enough people in my properties playing this, we're not going to play the rent game, but you're not allowed to evict them game, I could have went broke. That's when I started realizing you got to play some defense with this stuff, because just because I got net worth on paper and you start counting your rental income as like guaranteed, it is not. And if you build your lifestyle around that, if that stuff goes to zero or you have to start paying those mortgages, you can quickly be jacked up. Which is again why you see real estate people go broke. They could be telling you they have $10 million in real estate. That don't mean nothing. They could be broke. They could go broke, let enough people not pay. So you got to be careful. But yeah, I wouldn't buy any property in states that have laws that don't make sense in like real life. Florida, Texas, Nevada, Louisiana, Tennessee, South Carolina. Florida and Texas are already big. Georgia's big now. Yeah, Grant Cardone could be broke. Yeah, for sure. I don't know what his leverage situation is now, but dude, this is the thing. People that were doing really good in real estate, if you listen to Dave Ramsey, what happened to him was he was making money and he was doing good. The banks just said, "Hey, we're going to foreclose if you don't pay this loan off." And that'll take you out right by itself. So I don't know Grant Cardone's situation exactly, but if you're holding enough debt, I think he does a lot of stuff on the equity side where he's bringing in income. I mean, cash from like investors. So that could be a little different. But debt, if you have debt, you can go broke. You can definitely go broke with some debt. And that's the tough thing, though, as like a young man, the ability to borrow at 96.5% on an FHA loan to buy a property that you house hack and you rent out the duplex, or if it's a fourplex, you rent out the other units, can be life-changing. So you wouldn't suggest to get a loan to buy real estate, or should I just buy it outright? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't want to tell someone starting out not to use debt. The problem today is that the debt is more expensive. And so the margin for error on real estate is tighter than it's ever been. So if you don't buy the right thing, or you just have, I don't know, some kind of issue, you don't have the reserves. You may not have the reserves, especially if you're using a low down payment, to sustain the risk. And the issue is maybe you could sustain it. I mean, maybe it's a good deal, but if you can't afford the pay, like you could still get wiped out on a good deal. That's the problem. You on paper, it's a good property, but there's an expense that now you can't rent it out. Now, I don't know, there's an insurance claim and then it's hard to rent it. There's things that can happen to you that could take you out because you're vulnerable when you're smaller. But no, I would not say not to get a loan. I would say be very careful and buy the right property, and don't crash out just because you want to buy a property. Because if you don't own anything, you are screwed, because the economy is like, there's going to be rich people that own stuff and then everyone else is poor. That's the world that we're moving back into. So you have to find a way to own stuff. But that's why I like stocks, because it's the same thing, but it's more liquid. Not to say not to buy property, though. But I literally was just on the phone with a loan officer friend of mine, and he has property. And we were both sharing the fact that it feels like you're making money, but then sometimes if you have a roof repair, it could wipe out your profit for that year for the property in one go. And then you might have another problem. And then, you could have a problem with the tenant. Plus, you're also having to hire the roofing company to fix the roof. And you're also having to field the calls from the tenant. Now, you could hire a property management company, which is what we do here in Jersey, or one of the things that we do. But it costs something from you. What's the typical rental yields in Nairobi? Are there good deals out there too? So I think the numbers generally run this ratio of, actually, let me look at mine, right? So it's a little difficult because the exchange rate, when you're calculating in dollars, but I paid about $45K for the 1-bedroom in Lavington, and it's rents for 65,000 shillings, about $500 a month. So you take that 45,000. Hold on, 500 times 12 divided by 45. Yeah, it's about 13% gross NOI. But then there's expenses, right? So this is why I don't like to do a calculation yet, because I don't have enough data for vacancy and like expenses and stuff. So looking around 13%, but now we have a month of vacancy. So I had a tenant in there and then they moved out because you're able to break your lease. So we're vacant for a month now. Now, if it's 2 months, that changes your return. So you have to be careful. That's why I don't want to cite a return, because it's based off of gross, and I know better than to base it off of gross rent. Like, we have to see what the vacancy is. That's why the Airbnb thing, I have no idea. I'm going to do it, but I'm buying some property, but it won't be done till 2028. So I don't want to mislead people as far as what the return actually will look like. But on gross return, it's about 13%. And that seems to be pretty standard. And that so that 13% is not Airbnb. That is the rental calculation on an unfurnished traditional year lease. The rent is probably double on the Airbnb rate, but I don't know what the vacancy rate would be. So if you're doing Airbnb, basically is 2 to 2.5 times whatever the unfurnished is, from what I've been looking at. So you're going to need at least a vacancy of 50% for it to be worth it. Plus, then you got to add in the cost of the furniture, maintenance, turnover. So I don't have numbers. I don't want to just make up numbers. So I don't want to tell you, I don't want to say what the percentage is, because I can't say yet, That's why I'm not a great content creator, because I'm like, it depends. And that's not a great answer, I guess, but that's the real answer. And I sleep good at night telling people what's really going, like what I'm doing. All I can do is share what I've seen so far. I don't want to go beyond what I've seen. So you think it's dumb to just rent if you don't see yourself here long term? No, I don't think it's dumb to rent, because renting can be cheaper than buying right now. Before 2020, that was not the case. You were dumb for renting. And that's the type of content I was making at that time. Like, you need to buy a house immediately at 3%. They're giving you money away for free. The mortgage payment is going to be significantly lower than the rent. Now that's not the case. So that's why I've been telling people, don't have FOMO about buying a house. Have FOMO about investing, though. Like, you need to be invested in assets, or you're going to fall behind if you don't have assets. That's why I say start getting into stocks, but don't trade. Don't trade. Let me see. The next comment says, what's the typical? Oh, okay. Hold on. I got lost. Dun-dun. That's decent, 12%, and the price will rise. We talked about this earlier in the live, but do be careful about the saturation because, again, now I'm seeing vacancy, and that's specifically because a lot of developments have finished at this point. And so, can you rent your stuff out when 1,000 new units just came on the market? Let's see. This comment is Chris said, and I own my CDL. I use that warehouse analogy because I know people who do that stuff on here. Oh, well, that's different because trucking is pretty good. You could scale that if you develop your own trucking company or partner with someone that does. You could run the dispatch remote. You'd need someone on the ground. You'd be in the boat that I am, right? Where you can kind of do stuff remote if you have your own business. But there are things where you're going to need to be there. But trucking ain't going nowhere. So I really like that business. I like waste management. I like basic ass services because a lot of people, they're not saturated and they're not easily technologied away. So I like that stuff. Gen Z Thomas Soul. Isn't the tax situation very bad in Kenya? Top line tax, I believe, for foreign. Oh, so the rental income tax is 7.5% gross. You're supposed to pay it monthly. I'm not a tax expert, but I don't think you are paying the rental income gross tax on top of income tax as a foreigner. That I'm not sure about that though. So when I go out there, one of my missions is to do some content with some lawyers and tax people because I see a lot of different things being said, and I try to look up the laws and everything, but just like with anything, laws have 8,000 different exceptions and taxes have 8,000 different exceptions. And I don't want to mislead anybody. I'm not sure, but from my current understanding, if you're just doing rental properties until you're making over a certain amount, it's 7.5% gross to KRA paid monthly. That's my understanding. Definitely something I want to look more into. The other thing, though, is just like the US, what's the tax enforcement look like? Because there's a lot of things in the US about how you're supposed to pay certain taxes, but maybe it's not designated a certain way where you do pay or you don't pay based off of how it's designated. But again, as a foreigner, I can't, I'm not expert with that stuff. Yes, and I haven't gotten that far because this is my first year making money in Kenya. Chris C said, I don't know anything about real estate. Obviously, couldn't they just take your apartment? What could we actually do as Americans? I'd assume you'd be effed, right? Well, how would they know? This goes to the IRS point. All they get are your 1099s and have some kind of algorithm based off of whatever you filed last year. Like what are their filings that they're getting? And I'm not saying lie or scam your taxes, but I'm just saying, how do they know? And it relies on you to self-report what you're supposed to pay. So there's that. Again, I plan to make content in Kenya with some accountants and some lawyers to get the proper information on these things because I see a lot of conflicting information. Just like the leasehold and freehold thing, I think that's a quite misunderstood. I talked about that a little bit before, but because there's like just like in the U.S., there's loopholes that are legal. What are the loopholes in Kenya that are legal? Or structure, we could call business structures how do you structure your stuff to pay less tax legally? Yeah, I'm trying to be politically correct on that stuff. If someone wanted to rent your apartment for the year, what would you charge? Yeah, it's 65,000 shillings a month. That's what I've been renting it for, which is about $500. But when you quote a shilling price in dollars, it's wrong because the shilling price, the conversion changes. But that's why I like the long term, because if I rented it on Airbnb, the day rate would equal like $1,000 to $1,200 per month if you did a daily rate. So, let's just take 1,100 divided by 30 days. It'd be about $36 a night, which is what I pay. Generally, I was paying $250 a week for my Airbnb in Kilimani, and I've stayed at probably 5 different ones, and that's about what I end up paying. Westlands is a little bit more, but you pay more for the property. That's why I like the Diplomat, that project done by Wonder Properties, because they have a studio that, on a return on investment, the studio is only 5 million shillings, which I've never seen that low price in Westlands. It is a small, crappy studio. Well, crappy in size, right, and layout a little bit, but I think it performs better on a straight ROI perspective. So if I gave you 6K, you'd rent it to me for the year. Yeah, I would. Why not? That's the cool thing. If it was in the US, I wouldn't let you pay for a year straight. Yeah, I would take 6K for the year. Why not? See, that's the benefit of owning the property outright, because I don't have to make payments on it. So, that's within the range of what that property should make. So I can guarantee I could get 6K today and then not have to worry about the property for a year. That's cool. And see, this is what I mean. That, like, yeah, 6K isn't a whole bunch of income, but also the maintenance there is not crazy. How much are utilities? See, I love how Kenyan does things, because you pay the utilities, they're prepaid. So you get like a card and you scan the water meter. You put money on the card, you scan the water meter, and then the credits go onto the water meter. Same thing basically with your electric. I have no idea what it costs. It depends on your usage, but remind that they usually don't use AC out there, so you're not using that much power. I have no idea what the rate is though. Probably not a lot. I probably need a better answer to that one, but I don't. Because when I stay at the Airbnb, they pay for the credits, but I don't know. I don't think he's going to spend more than $100, $200 a month on utilities. Probably less. Because again, what are you using in a 1-bedroom? I'm surprised y'all are still on it. Y'all clicked it. It said test. That's actually so cheap, though. I'm paying $3K a month because you're in New York. New York, man, I don't get it. That's what I'm saying. Like, people are paying so much, and that's why it's hard to equate, because Nairobi, you're in the New York of Kenya for $500 a month. You know, So if you can make money in the US, it's just going to go so far. And this concept applies to a lot of other places. You know, I'm not just saying Kenya, but a lot of places have these affordability dynamics that you can, you know, although not all the African countries are that. Like, I think this is why I didn't go to Ghana, because I looked at the prices in Ghana. I didn't think it was as good. Do I worry about the dollar losing value? Well, I thought that we were going to gain some value because of the tariffs, but then nothing really happened. And actually, in 2024, in February, if you check the exchange rate, it was a lot better. The thing for me with the exchange rate is that I keep my money in shillings anyway to kind of balance the. Now, I could get in trouble because I have contracts out on 2 units in the Diplomat, and if the dollar crashes, then it would become much more expensive to buy those properties, even though it would be the same shilling rate. But when I make money in Kenya, I'm leaving the money there because I have more things I want to do there. So I don't want to repatriate the money to the US anyway. Very interested to see a video with lawyer, CPA. I pay 550 euros for my mortgage with a 11% interest rate. So then the property shouldn't be that much. Where do you live? What country? Where at? Yeah, I have a Kenyan bank account. And no, I don't have a work permit yet, because that's what they'll tell you you need. But you know, I'm telling you, I'm good. I'm good in the hood. I talk to people everywhere I go. So yes, I have a Kenyan bank account. I have M-Pesa. I have a Kenyan bank account. I'm gonna get my international driver's license. I'm gonna get a car. Oh, 1% interest. Sorry, my screen's small here. How do you have 1% interest? That's crazy. That's nice. But y'all got communism over there. I don't know about that. We like freedom over here in America, you know? How are you a Gen Z Thomas Sowell and you're over in Europe? I'm confused. I'm confused by this. Don't tell me. I love Germany. I lived in Germany. I loved it. But whatever they doing with the free speech over there, they got to stop. That's whack. Canada too. Canada's, man, what are y'all doing? That's why I can never complain about the US, because we got freedom. I like freedom. Okay. I'm from the Netherlands. Don't get me started. Almost 65% of all houses are now rent controlled. See, the thing is, that stuff works until it don't work no more, right? Because eventually the natural, like, economic urges is going to mess it up. At least I don't know. You know, I don't know a lot about. I've been to Amsterdam, but you know, I don't know how these systems work, but trying to control everything, I think, always ends in disaster eventually. Just in general. We do now. I feel like we was losing it for all of us. Thank God Trump won. Yeah, man, it was getting weird. It was getting weird. So, you know, I'm scared to get into the politics, but I'm with you. Oh boy, get messages. Yeah. Well, I don't know what the other side is doing, man. They doing weird stuff. They are doing weird stuff. I didn't look at what the big beautiful bill. I didn't see what's in it. Like actually now everything is so biased in both directions. It's hard to actually know what the truth of anything is. And it's not that they lie, it's just that they leave out other facts that you need to be able to understand something. So I'm always skeptical of everything that I look at. I got to look at like 20 sources before anything makes sense. Do you see a future for yourself as a real estate advisor in Kenya for foreigners? Oh man, look, this space is getting like a bad name. I don't know if you've seen O'Shea, Duke Jackson, and Kinganda coming after people for scamming and all that kind of stuff. I'm trying to tread very lightly. And I've done real estate for 15 years in the United States. But if I can't answer your tax question, how can I be a real estate advisor in Kenya, right? So I'm being very careful that if I'm going to charge someone money for something, that they get the proper value for what is charged. Yes, theoretically, and I've been having conversations about partnering with some people in Kenya to have a part of a brokerage or a brokerage that caters to foreign purchasers, investors, expats, people in the diaspora. But I don't know enough to execute it today. So as I spend more time there, I am developing some infrastructure and knowledge and all the things you need to. I want to provide a good service if I'm going to do it right. There's a lot of dusty people that go out and they're selling consultations and then they're referring you to somebody and they're not checking and making sure like you're getting good information. You're not getting the support. You're not like, if you pay some money, you need to get the value out of whatever the money is. Okay. So until I feel confident to be able to do that for somebody, I'm not pulling the trigger on it. But yes, there's a lot of plans. Okay. So this is the one thing that I think I would be comfortable executing on at this point that will be a prelude to whatever is done in the future is we want to do a real estate tour of Nairobi where we get like a van or whatever size thing. And we're going to familiarize everyone with the different sections. So we'll go to Kilimani. We'll look at one or two developments in Kilimani, get you acclimated to some of the things that are in the area, the main roads. There's a main road there that always has mad traffic. That is everything. It's Arguings Kodak. So like just basically so you kind of know what's going on, what the vibe in that area is. Then we'll go to Kileleshwa and do the same thing. And then Lavington. And we'll have a real estate neighborhood expert that'll be able to kind of give you the tour, but also answer your questions while you're going through the neighborhoods. At the same time, see what type of developments are available. Then we'll go to Westlands and do the same thing. And then it may end in a lunch or a dinner. And what we got to have is we have to have a real estate professional there. We need an attorney and we need an accounting person. And you have a lunch or dinner with the tour people plus those people where you have them to be able to ask your questions. That is the format of what I'm looking at partnering to offer for people, because I want to provide a service that I was doing for myself, that Dennis would take me around. Dennis is a real estate agent I work with. We'd go through the area. He'd show me the properties. He'd explain, here's that stuff. I'm looking on a map. I'm figuring out, oh, here's the commute time from here. Oh, a lot of people work at this place. These are things that you need to know to invest in real estate. So this would acclimate you to knowing what's going on in Nairobi. Is there any type of business that would do well in Kenya, like type of food bar? We need some American businesses over there. Oh, man, I have a million things with that. See, like that's the cool thing, is the possibilities are endless. But man, doing a business in the United States is hard. Okay, like again, people are people in scaling, legal, accounting, bookkeeping, HR. That stuff is hard. So the idea you're just going to go to Kenya and just do a business and you don't have residency and like you're legal, like there's a lot of things, but is there a lot of opportunity? Yes. Obviously coffee is a big thing. But okay, you want to do a coffee farm. Okay. Well, what's distribution look like? What's labor look like? How do you make sure people don't steal? How are you going to like make sure the money is managed properly? Who's going to manage the farm? How are you going to make sure that that person is not stealing or being negligent? How are you going to market? How are you going to sell? Like I have an idea about doing like content about a coffee farm and then selling it direct to the diaspora, the US. But what's the I have no idea about exporting, the taxes, tariffs, but I think it'd be a compelling thing if people knew the farm that they got their coffee from. And then do you roast it? Because then if you roast it, then it expires in a certain amount of time. Or do you sell it as a green coffee bean? Like I've done a lot of research on a lot of different things. But again, like business is freaking hard. If you haven't done a business in the US, I think you should try that before you try to go to another country and do a whole business, because you don't even know that you don't know what you don't know. So I'd be careful. But yeah, you can. And that's the thing. The attractiveness is that the entry price is low. Like you could probably rent a spot and make a bar. But I'll tell you that the bars that are already out there are very competitive. Go to Oyster Bay, go to the location, go to Alloy, go oh man, and some of them, the hotel restaurants are amazing. Go to Botanica / Mercado. Like these places, these are formidable restaurants. I think you're gonna like these are professionals out there. So thinking like just because I'm from the West that I'm just gonna come and kick ass in business. I think Kenyans are pretty good. I don't know who the owners of all these businesses are, but like the idea that you're just going to come and be better than everybody is a bit naive, I think. Not that you can't do it. I'm saying you can do it, but you got to be on your shit to win, I think. You definitely got to be knowing what you're doing. This is more like a fun thing, and actually last night I seen this because I was like, I want to make a soccer club, and I want to like, because Kenya, they play rugby, right? But their soccer team is kind of trash. Football, I'll call it football from now on because soccer's whack. There must be an issue with like the youth development and the clubs and leagues, because there's got to be talent. It's just not getting developed. So a football, I always had this idea of having like a football club, but it's also like I like the social idea, like the race course where they have all this you go to the racetrack, it's a vibe the whole time. I want to do that with football. But the problem is I know at their football games they be throwing rocks, like it's not a lot of women. It's like a rough environment. So I want to make the luxury football experience, but also help with development. But I don't know what I don't know. So the idea you're just going to come and do that is, I think there's a million things you got to learn before you try to do something like that. Do you see basketball hoops out there? I don't think I ever saw a basketball hoop. I've seen lots of, like, a lot of the schools will have like a mini futsal field, at least. Futsal field, yeah, for soccer, football. But I didn't see not one person do anything with a basketball. No. You got to bring that to South Sudan, man. They tall over there. You could pick out South Sudanese right away. You'd be like, tall, dark, kind of lanky, South Sudan. They really like that. Obviously, not everybody, but for sure. Dang. I can't believe I've been on here so long. That's crazy. Maybe we'll have to do this more. Maybe we will. But see, like, I wasn't planning on this, but now maybe I should leave this up. But now I'll have to title the video something. Plus, half the time I wasn't talking about nothing, and I don't feel like editing. Yeah, see, the bar and food thing is a little challenging because, like, there's a lot of international dining already, and it's good. It's probably my favorite thing. Is like you could go to some real nice restaurants. That's how I gain all that weight. Eating good. Rooftop lounges, high quality restaurants with the view, with the vibes and the view. That's every day. So I'm not a big clubber, but I'll be at the restaurant or the lounge for sure. For sure. Yeah, that's got to be something we can get into, paintball, airsoft. Okay, but here's the other thing is that there's talk about rich and poor. Kenya probably has a better middle class than most other African countries, I'm assuming. But a lot of people don't have money, right? That's why I say, like, you could live in Kenya for very cheap because boda drivers probably only making, like, the average salary in Nairobi is like 40,000 or 30,000 shillings. That's 500 US dollars. So can you have a paintball facility? Because I played paintball back in the day and I have like a mad paintball gun still today. Can you maintain the equipment and have rentals? And like the field won't cost nothing, but you're going to pay exponentially more for the equipment. And then you can't charge that much because people don't have that much money. But I think it would be a hit. Yeah, I think people would definitely go. But your pricing dynamics, either you price it like, I don't want to say Western prices, but like comparable to some degree. But then do you have enough people that want to do it? I don't know. But that's an interesting idea. Also, land in Nairobi is very expensive, so you'd have to put it kind of far out if you want to be affordable. Have I been to Mombasa? Yes. I've been to Mombasa. It's funny. I saw some apartments for sale in Mombasa, 2.5 million. That's less than $20,000, I think. Even cheaper, way less things to do, better food, hot as hell. The place I stayed at, I didn't like the Airbnb. Definitely need air conditioning. 3-4 days, I'm good on Mombasa, to be honest. Business opportunity there. Yeah, I think if you had the right marketing, and you would need a good amount of money, but you could make a really nice resort. I know a lot of people go to Zanzibar, but like a Western style all inclusive type resort, Mombasa, Watamu, Diani, or well, they have clubs in Mombasa, but I don't know. I think about that when I think about Mombasa. How easy is it to get good broadband on the continent? I never had a problem with the internet speed. I always thought it was good. And like the property I purchased, there was 3 different speeds that you could buy, and I think the fastest one was close to what we get here, or I don't know. It's never been a factor. Have you been to Kigali? That's Rwanda. Real estate is blowing up, or your leisure is out here now. Yeah, I have not been. I see the prices there, and they're not cheaper than Kenya, but there's more to do in Nairobi than there is in Kigali. So why is it priced higher? I don't understand. Also, you got to think about they've had the same president for like 40 years, like Uganda. There's weird stuff going on with them and DRC. And so I don't know. These are my thoughts there, though. Is there truth to Chinese infrastructure not being the best? They're building a lot of that right now. We'll have to see, because like they built the expressway 2 years ago that goes from the airport to Westlands. It's weird. A U.S. company got the contract to build the highway to Mombasa that they're going to make for a toll. It's really a shame to see that they don't hire Kenyan companies to do these projects, like government projects, right? And because now so like if you think about it, if they're going to make a toll road, and they're building the toll road for free, some of that money that you're paying in tolls ends up getting to the company that's doing the development, that's going back to the US versus a Kenyan developer. So that's very unfortunate. And I don't know that these are, these are just thoughts that I have, and I haven't been formulated into what maybe we can do, because I'm an American too, but I intend to keep my money in Kenya that I make in Kenya. But I don't know if the development's bad. Also, you got to be like, okay, with the real estate developments, I wouldn't because I see people comments in YouTube where they're like, don't buy Chinese, buy Somali developments. And I'm like, I wouldn't just categorize them based off of their nation of origin. I'd probably look, because they are different companies. So I'd probably purchase based off of the company than just saying they're Chinese or whatever. Have I heard about bad Chinese concrete and cement? Yes. Have I heard about issues with, I bought stuff from China before and it falls apart. But if you know DJI, that's a Chinese company, and their technology is cutting edge on the drones and even the pocket camera. Oh, I don't have it here right now. So they can do a good job. So just because it's Chinese don't mean it's bad. Look at South Africa. It's beautiful. It seems they have the best infrastructure. Yeah, because I mean, if you look at the history of South Africa, it's because of their connection to Britain and the Netherlands. They don't get the bad trade deals and all that stuff that everybody else was getting. So South Africa don't count, to be honest. Like, to me, South Africa don't count. And you see now they're having issues because they're having to deal with the hangover of apartheid. Because basically they're like the US, but their civil rights movement happened in the 80s instead of 60s. But the black people there are the population majority, but not the wealth majority. So that's a different dynamic that they deal with that we don't have here in the US. But if you know, Zimbabwe took the land back. And that's when, I don't know if you remember, they had hyperinflation where they had like a million of their currency was like a penny in the US. So, because if you look throughout history, like during the Soviet Union, the Ukraine, the farmers in the Ukraine, they took the land from the farmers, and then they had a famine because the people didn't know how to maintain or couldn't maintain the farms that these rich Ukrainian farmers had. So I think that's the same issue that Zimbabwe has now, and that may happen in South Africa that could derail all of their infrastructure, is that you're trying to return the land, because they did steal it in some point, you know, but then if you just give it to somebody else who is not a good steward of the land, well, now you got no food, So whether you agree with it morally, which, yeah, I in concept, I agree with them taking the land back. But how do you do that? I don't know. And and that's not to say that all the white people in South Africa are bad, but uh, they're crying that, oh, this is unfair. Well, I mean, this is the same crying that was happening when you took the land in the first place from the people that you took it from, no? So what's the difference? I don't know. But how do you not destroy your whole country when your systems are created in such a way? I think South Africa, this is why I'm excited about Kenya, because Nigeria's having inflation problems and issues, and South Africa, um, they will. I don't think they can advance until they sort the land and apartheid reconciliation issue. So Kenya is, as long as, but Kenya's having issues right now politically as well. So we're just gonna, I don't know. We'll have to see. But Kenya is positioned well to become the leader in sub-Saharan Africa, because I know Egypt and Morocco are doing, good if you include the whole continent. Yeah, Kenya is great, growing population, real GDP growth that is high. Only significant risk that I see, the debt and currency collapse. Yeah, man, like I keep seeing the president announce these different projects, and I'm like, well, the debt, but that Kenya has less debt per GDP than the US by double. So, but US debt is different because we have the reserve currency. But I don't know if it's overblown. If you're developing, are you getting a return? I get worried about them selling the country out, right? Because they almost sold the airport to some Indian company, Adani. So I think I hope that they can retain the benefits of the development, and that even if you make a deal, even for these highways, yeah, you get the road, but is the wealth going to get extracted through the tolls more than the value is to have the road? You might as well not have the road then. So I get worried about that they're making good deals. And this is a problem in Africa, is like the people in power will make a deal that's good for them personally, but might not be good for long term of the country. And I mean, that's hard to police. So I don't know. But I think what that's the weird thing to talk about the debt though. Last year they came up with all these new taxes and they had to withdraw them because of the protests, which shows that the democracy to some level is working in Kenya. Although there was violence, so that's not good. But yeah, it's if they can hold on politically, they are positioned well. But at the same time, these deals can't sell the country out. Like, how do you? Because okay, you need outside investment. How do you make it work for both parties? Is really what needs to happen. And so, if you make a bad deal, then it could really be damaging. So that's what I'm thinking. But also, if you have too much political instability, that development and growth that's coming from outside will go away real fast. Very risky, I think. That's these are all things I think about when I'm like because I the biggest haters are Kenyan diasporans that have not been in Kenya in decades. They're like, these Americans going there don't know nothing. You don't know the president did this and it's corrupt and this and that. But it's like, first of all, the US just found ways to make corruption legal because I do stuff locally in politics. And even in that, I see where, like, if you want to get a contract, you want to get something done, you better donate to somebody. That's legal, right? That's not corruption. Political donations. What the? It is not much different than handing someone a bag of money, but we want to act like it's so much better. You speak to them about their president, that seems risky, no? Um, I'm not up here trying to talk about the president. Plus, some of the stuff like the finance bill that they were doing, you know, it was like if debt is a problem, I see why they're doing austerity measures to try to get taxes. Maybe the execution was an issue, but you could talk to people. I think Kenya's more open, but they are having issues where activists are disappearing and popping back up and getting beat up and stuff. So yeah, you got to be careful. And as a guest, I definitely don't want to like have too much commentary. I mean, Kenyans decide what's going to happen with Kenya, right? I'm just kind of sharing like observations and thoughts more than like an opinion about what they should or should not do, right? I'd rather like I'm just trying to report on what I'm seeing happening more than I'm saying they should or should not do something. I guess I am saying that with like um like if they're doing a bad deal, but I'm not saying that like people are having a I'm not saying that politicians are doing it to sell the country out. I'm just saying that hopefully they can make a good deal. But it's funny because Bien was one of the most popular artists was having a concert and he said stuff about the president. I said, "Oh boy, risky, very risky." Yeah, this is crazy. Y'all see this Travis Hunter got married. What's up with that? I've been saying biggest crash out of 2025. Get married, no prenup. First rookie contract. That's why you got to move to Kenya too, so you don't deal with these stupid marriage laws. That's crazy. You wasn't with me shooting in the gym. Yeah, I don't want to go too far on the Kenyan politics for sure. Don't want to get in trouble. I love Kenya. It's a great place. How's the marriage laws in Kenya? They favor the man again. I can only speak to the things that I looked up, but I don't think you lose half your stuff. I don't think it's a culture of going to court for that kind of stuff either, really. So I don't think that stuff is a problem. But if you get married in another country, the U.S. can recognize that, and then if they came to the U.S., you'd still be under the U.S. law. So I feel like you still need a prenup to protect you from whatever in the U.S. Which is funny because I think people are having trouble, even if they're married, getting visas to the U.S. from certain countries. I don't think it's that easy. Oh boy, how about the Kenyan females? They get mad when people say female instead of women. But anyway, yeah. Everyone wants to know. I don't know. I try to keep it professional, but yeah, especially women in Nairobi, they will let you know that they like you. They may come up to you. That's cool. Like Nairobi's a perfect mix for this because culturally they're connected to what's going on in pop culture, but also there's a traditional aspect of the culture. So for an American, it's you're easy to relate. I'll say that. But yeah, they're great. They are great. I don't I'm it's a small world, so I don't want to say too much. They are great, but I've definitely got a WhatsApp sent to me before, I woke up this morning and I saw your video from Kenya. So I don't want to say too much about the ladies today. Maybe, I don't know, I might have to do that on a members only or something to tell you all the real stuff going on. Yeah, Kenya has a big drinking culture for sure. If you go it's crazy. I went out during happy hour and you order a beer, you get 2. Like what? 2 beers for the price of 1? Like 2 come out. I'm like, what? So yeah, it's a big drinking culture for sure, which I think makes the driving dangerous. Although I feel like I don't see people drinking and driving, but I think on the highways, outside the city, that's when it could be real dangerous. They might go in the wrong, because the highway might only be 2 lanes, one lane in each direction. Is Nairobi pretty friendly? Probably the most friendly place ever, I think. I've never had a negative interaction, really. The only negative thing is when people ask for money or something, but I'm usually not outside in places where they can do that. If I could bring anything to Kenya, it'd be legal weed. They got weed. I see people smoking weed out there. I don't do weed, so I don't really, partake. But y'all crazy, because I ain't trying to go to jail for 1,000,000 years. Because that's the thing. The enforcement could be selective. Like if they pull up on you, you better have some money to give them. A lot. Because I think the penalty for because hookah is illegal, but every restaurant has hookah. Like if you look it up, Oyster Bay, which I go to all the time, a couple days after I left, they got raided. But then this year when I went, they still had hookah. It's not on the menu though. Yeah, you should be scared. Don't Don't do that. That's how you end up in jail for 1,000,000 years. You're gonna be on some Brittany Griner asking Trump for help. Oh, but Ken, you're locked up. Yeah, no, I ain't trying to go to jail. Not trying to go to jail. But I don't know. I have people on WhatsApp. I see it in their stories. They'd be smoking weed. It's not my thing, you know. It's funny. They assume so they assume all the Nigerians are doing like illegal activity. That's like a stereotype because there's lots of Nigerians too. They're like they're probably doing something illegal. Like what? Well, guys, I think I'm getting a bunch of messages I got to deal with and do actual work. And I got to eat some food, even though I got to eat something healthy. How many calories do I have left? All right. I can eat 1,800 more calories today. But yeah, I'll probably do some lives. I don't know. Should I have a theme? Should I just pop up? I don't know. No idea. Appreciate you, Chris, hanging out. Gen Z Thomas Soul from the Netherlands. Thank you for participating. And whoever these other people are hanging out. I was just testing my technology in here, the audio, video. I wasn't expecting to be actually doing a stream, but that's cool. It was fun. So, but I feel like I've run out of things to talk about. Like, how much can we really talk about this? You know, but I don't know. Maybe it's a thing. So I'll see you guys later. Appreciate y'all. How do I get out of here?